Hello, beautiful people. How you doing? It's good to see you. Happy Monday. Morning for some of you, afternoon for others. Still technically morning here. It's good to see you all. Welcome to anybody who is new. Hi, I'm Absa. Welcome. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button while you're at it. It's a wonderful way to help the channel. And we love having new folks join our little community here. It is good to see you all. Shout out to all the members, the subscribers, and all the supporters. You are the executive producers, as always, of this channel. Shout out to the best mod squad on the internet, holding it down, as always, keeping the foolishness pure in the chat. And if you haven't already, change your chat settings from top chat to live chat so you can catch all that good foolishness. My day is going great. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing very well. It's good to see you. K Sharp says, I can't believe we are here discussing Boosie. Crust Bucket is one of my least favorite humans I know about against my will. Ah, the fun of fame. The fun of fame. Well, this is an interesting one. I was really fascinated to see this, quiet as kept. I'm just gonna keep it perfectly honest with you. I jumped up and said, "Oh, we're at the intersection of this right here, okay? We got rap on one avenue and we got a docket on the other. That is really quite fascinating. It really is. The Drock, good to see you. Mama Ree, Jazzy 1994, Divine Black Rose. Redo, good to see you. K Sharp, somebody's mama. Goldie Vox. We do have a little goal going for the super chats. As you all expertly dip and dodge strike 3. I appreciate you very much. Is this not a chair? Groovy or Tony? Pico and Nola. I hope I said that somewhat right. Goldie Vox getting us started. Appreciate you. Alex, good to see you. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button if you're just joining. Tamara, good to see you. I mean, if you're not interested in the live, you can leave. Lena Lou, good to see you. Hello, beautiful. Anyway, how y'all doing? Did you have a good weekend? Before we dive into all of this, whether it has been exposed or not previously, I didn't know a damn thing about it, so I'm quite interested in it. Did quite a bit of research this morning for this live to share it with the people who also might not know. OGT Bella, hey, beautiful. Good to see you. Well, this story is gross. The names that come up, you just want to put on a hazmat suit, because it's no good, there are no real redeemable characters throughout this entire situation. But I think it's interesting because it exposes, the MAGA machine, the grifter machine, the pardon machines, and how it apparently is segregated. And there's a special lane for rappers. Yeah, that was new information to me. I'm not surprised that the pardon process is segregated and that there is a special lane for rappers. That did not surprise me. The irony. Furry B, good to see you. Jewel, good to see you. Yeah, the irony of there being, you know, a segregated rappers over here, everybody else over here. So, if you've never heard of Boozy Badass, okay, and you've never heard of people like Jacob Wall or Jack Berkman or the American Arbitration Association, don't you worry your pretty little heads, beloved. Your girl got you covered. Let me just get a couple things in order here. Move some things around. There we go. Goldilocks. Damn, how bad is it? It's swampy. It's like stinky reflecting pool. Bottom of the reflecting pool. Stinky. It's just gross. But hit the like button. Put your hazmat suit on. And let's talk about the industry that has been built around selling access to Donald Trump. According to a lengthy uh, review, we'll say that, by Notice, which is News of the United States, if you're not familiar with them. And shout out to Jasmine Wright and Taylor Giorno for putting a bunch of documentation out there because we love nothing more than documents, okay? So thank you very much, those two reporters at Notice, for doing the good work of the people, okay? And making sure things are accessible. We appreciate it. So, Boosie paid over $500,000 to get a pardon. We just talked about Boosie last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, because allegedly he has had several violations of his release for weapons charges. Kiki, this is hilarious. My phone showed me a memory from my camera roll, and it was a picture of me with my mom and aunt in front of the reflecting pool. It looked very clean. Shout out to Graduated Thought for gifting 5 AFL memberships. So he paid over $500,000 to secure a pardon for his gun conviction. And we just talked about it because, like I said, allegedly, there have been several violations of his multi conditional release, and they're about sick and tired of it. And, you know, they want him to serve his time. And that was a very sad reading about somebody who, if, the allegations of his violations are true, is a very arrested, institutionalized individual. Okay. Um, but this is for that. So, yeah, it was $600,000, Kiki. and we have the contract. So, the contract is very straightforward, okay? And if they succeeded, fantastic. If they didn't secure the pardon by the agreed deadline in the contract, Boosie could request half of that $600,000 back. So $300,000. That seems like a pretty good deal, you know? I mean, that seems like, you're getting $300,000 back if they don't secure a pardon for you by a certain day and time. Could that be one of the reasons why he was just so allegedly, I don't give a about his, conditions for his release? Because baby, he had damn near every single kind of, violation according to the government, um, just short of, you know, pulling some poo shiesty for some day passes. Redo says, "How is bribery legal?" It's called lobbying. Thank you very much. Rude. Bribery. Such a harsh word. It's called lobbying, beloved. Uh, so, Boosie says that after being told, "You have congratulations, the pardon has been secured." Actually, no pardon no pardon existed, okay? And, now he wants his money back. But, pardons have always been political, the period. Pardons are political, okay? At the end of the day, even if the pardon is the right decision, pardons are always political. That's nothing new. But in this administration, there is an unofficial marketplace where people advertise their proximity to the one person who has the power to grant a pardon. And they promise special access to the White House, and they charge enormous sums of money for the opportunity to pursue a pardon. Yeah, changing word uses changes everything. Bribery? Beloved, clutch of the pearls. But yeah, so these folks that he retained, they're not the only ones. There are plenty of people who this is a part of their business model is I can get you X, Y, and Z because I have proximity and access to either, the man himself or people who influence his decisions. But when it comes to a pardon, literally nobody, again, nobody but one person can grant it. And there's no guarantee that one is going to happen. So it's really just a gamble. We're just going to, hey, you know what? It is cheaper to pay $600,000 than it is to go to prison for 3 years. So Berkman and Associates is the firm that Boozy hired, and child, the two biscuit heads, I we'll set that aside, but they agreed to lobby lobby they agreed to bribe the Department of Justice. No, they agreed to lobby the Department of Justice, lobby the White House counsel's office, advocate with senior White House officials, and wherever possible, make a direct case to the president himself. And, again, within this contract is the acknowledgement that, the only person that can actually do this for you is the president. Um, and says there's no guarantee of success, okay? And it includes a clause requiring 300,000 refund if no pardon was secured by the deadline. That is again a really good deal and highly unusual. To me, when I see that kind of a clause, it's either one of two things, right? You're really, really good with walking away with 300K as the lobbying firm, or you put that in there just as a means basically to secure the 600K in the first place. It's an enticement to actually sign the contract because you've got other stuff going on, and they do and did then, beloved, lots of problems for these biscuit heads that said they were going to do this lobbying for Boosie. Um, and they need money. They need cash money. So it reads to me as an enticement, but hey, they said they were gonna give, 50% back. Okay, whatever. Um, they were given updates according to reporting, consistently. Everything is progressing. They were told that there were influential people within MAGA and within the White House that support the pardon. Laura Loomer's name comes up repeatedly. Natalie Harp, who I believe is his, I don't know, mistress, wet nurse. Yes, I said wet nurse, bed nurse, personal aide to the president. Um, was described as somebody who could physically deliver the paperwork to the president, and these lobbyists had a relationship with her. And there are other conservative influencers and Republican politicians whose names were allegedly invoked to Boosie, his team, his lawyers over a period of time to give them the impression that like this is actively in play and making progress. And then on New Year's Day, they get a call or some kind of communication saying that Donald has signed a pardon for Boosie, and the only thing that remains is for it to be announced publicly. And then there was no announcement. And when Boosie's lawyers started to independently look into the situation started to fall apart. OGT Bella. Boosie looking for that rebate check. Baby, that rebate check ain't nothing to play with now. Them. There's top men working on this matter. Boosie. Who? Them. Top men. Shirley, good to see you, beautiful. So there comes, there comes a point where they say, yeah, yeah, it's signed. We're just waiting. Prosecutors couldn't confirm a signed pardon. White House contact hadn't even heard of the application. And then the reporters started calling the people whose names had allegedly been thrown around throughout this situation. And several of them denied supporting Boosie's pardon, and some of them denied even knowing that it existed. And then a White House official said their team for pardons had, and remember, there's a pardon czar. Their team had never heard from this lobbying firm. Um, that lobbying firm, because that lobbying firm apparently had claimed credit in other pardons. So the White House is like, not only have we not heard from them in any capacity in relation to Boosie, but they have never played any role in any pardon that has been given, and warned that anybody who was hiring them was actually hurting their chances of getting a pardon. Mhm, 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 mhm. Awkward, that's super awkward. It's super, super awkward, and it cuts directly at the value, directly at the value proposition being sold in this $600,000 deal. We have access, we have good favor, if you sign with this firm, you're hurting your chances of getting a pardon. Flies directly in the face of what it was that they were selling. One of the most fascinating details in, that made me raise an eyebrow, one of the most fascinating aspects, pieces in Notice's reporting is what insiders allegedly referred to as the rapper batch of pardons. According to Boosie's lawyer, wait, let me look at my notes. No, according to text messages. Yes, yes, text messages that were reviewed by the reporters, the lobbyist told Boosie's lawyers that they had tried to send the rapper batch, that's like a batch of rappers, okay? A batch of pardons for rappers. I can't believe I'm about to say this. So, he had tried to send the rapper batch of pardons through the black world because there were different people in Trump's orbit that dealt with pardons based on race or ethnicity. For example, Laura Loomer, they said, was the one who handles all the pardons for the Jewish guys. Please say psych. I can't say psych. I can't say psych. Hit the like button. Through the black world. It's like Marvel, you know? There's Trump Earth, and then there's Jewish Earth 32, and then there's Black Earth 57. Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button. Share the like. I would the way I want to know. The way I want to know. And according to this reporting and these documents, these lobbyists are already making things up. So who knows if they actually had a rapper batch of pardons that they were trying to send through the black world to Trump world. This is exactly what I said. This is exactly what I said. So, a segregated system. Ah, Virgo harmony. Deep sigh. This is perfect. This is literally perfect. So, like Black Planet, literally perfect. A bushel of wrappers. What what because we are not just automatically calling this a cipher of rappers. We're not gonna allow them to have that because ain't none of them ain't no rapper who need a pardon capable of being in a cipher. So a bushel of rappers, I will go with that. Not the Wakanda pardons, beloved. What is ah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, babes. A bushel full of wrappers. Ridiculous. A gaggle of hip hoppers. Mm-hmm. 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 Batches. Also, can we just talk about like how I mean, I don't know. You usually think of pardons as like, you know, a one a one-on-one thing, you know? Like a pardon is a cause that is taken up by typically lawyers, a group of supporters, the person themselves. You know what I mean? It's a long fought battle. There's so much that goes into that process. Clemency too, and now it's just batches, batches of hard R's through the black world. Beloved, who was your access to the black world? Who was your access to the black world? Was it a butler in the White House? Like, what are we doing? And who else was in the batch? Who else got federal convictions that they need some help with that was in the batch represented by this group of lobbyists? Oh, God, that hurts. That really hurts. Like it's an auction block. Oh my God, it hurts. A murder of mumblers. What are you trying to do to me? What are you trying to do to me while I am live on air? A murder of mumblers? Oh my God. Hold on, let me recover. Just give me a second. Okay, all right. That wiped me the hell out. A bale of buffoons. Jesus. Office of the Division of Pardons, TMRA, the Melodic Rhymers Association. Jesus. Jesus. Beloved. Poet Noriots. Oh my God. You people are so fucking smart. It's just, I have to have the smartest, wittiest fucking chat. Squadron of shenanigans. Shout out to Joshua Schroyer for the $10 super chat. Thank you, beautiful. A squadron of shenanigans, beloved. I'm too dead. Oh, Jesus. Child, me too. Virgo Harmony, me too. Whew. All right, now, this is serious. This is serious business now. Whew. So, one of the other things that is reported by Notice is apparently there was initially going to be a big pardon event for America's 250th birthday. They were going to grant 250 pardons as a part of the celebration. Please think about how valuable that kind of a rumor can become. Think about how valuable of a rumor that can become to certain people. $250 pardons announced on the 250th birthday by the President of the United States. Yes, I'm serious. Yes, I'm serious. A gaggle of good for nothings. I see you. I see you. I mean, that is just 250 pardons is, I mean, I would say it's hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. So, and then you've got these pardon brokers. I mean, lobbyists. Thank you, beautiful, for the $2 super chat. A smattering of smut peddlers. I can't wait to catch the replay of this and read all of your comments. So we don't know, what came of this. We don't know, but we do know that there was no, announcement of 250 pardons on the 250th birthday because we would have talked about it. So who knows what happened with that. So the situation with Boosie is fascinating because this is really exposing more about this unofficial pardon marketplace than probably anybody intended for it too. Okay, it's drawing a lot of attention, and Boozy is supporting the reporting. The reporters were in contact with him, so and he shared text messages and um gave comment to them from his perspective about this entire situation. So who's surprised that Boosie's like, "I don't give a fuck, I want my money back, I don't care who know what's going on in the White House, outside of the White House, proximal to the White House or not. I want my money back. You gonna pay me my money." So, we don't have all of the documentation, okay? We have a contract, and then we have, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that Notice put in there, linked in their reporting. But what I pulled that was most significant for this live was the contract itself. They have a redacted version of that. And then um Boozy has filed for arbitration with the American Arbitration Association per the contract. We don't have his complaint, but we do have the lobbyist response to the complaint. Okay. And this is all just about money. It's not, do I deserve a pardon, blah, 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 blah. It's, I didn't get a pardon by this date. I'm owed $300,000. And he's starting an arbitration and not suing because there is an arbitration provision in the contract. Um, so to avoid answering or addressing the issue of whether or not they actually owe Boosie any money, their response basically attacks everything except the $300,000. Their motion to dismiss arbitration, um, is really it's fanciful. Okay. The motion argues that the arbitration should be dismissed because the contract was never valid, because the agreement contained the wrong year, because Boozy supposedly never properly signed it, because the wrong parties are named in his arbitration, effort, and because the American Association of Arbitration apparently lacks jurisdiction according to them, even though they're the ones that it's their contract. They're the ones that put them in there, okay? But there's no actual sustained argument about the provision of here's a partial refund for $300,000 if a pardon is not secured, by a specific date. So right now what they're doing is, you know, starting a legal fight on a bunch of other distraction things, um, through arbitration without addressing the merits. Um, so here is the contract. Boosie's last name is Hatch. So this is their retainer agreement. He's Torrance Hatch, which we discovered the last time we talked about him about a week ago. So J.M. Berkman and Associates is a District of Columbia consulting and lobbying firm in good standing with over 40 years of combined partner and staff experience in legal and ethical lobbying, public relations, and policy consulting. Consultant employs a broad range of tactics to serve a diverse clientele. Consultant maintains and shall continue to maintain all necessary licenses and registrations required by law, blah, 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 blah. Scope of service. Consultant is retained by client, Mr. Torrance Hatch, to provide exclusive strategic advisory and advocacy services for the sole purpose of seeking and securing a full presidential pardon for the charges to which client has pleaded guilty in the matter of United States v. Torrance Hatch, case number blah, 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 in the Southern District of California. The primary and exclusive objective of this engagement is to obtain a presidential pardon for client's conviction under Title 18 as expeditiously as possible. To achieve this objective, consultant services shall include, but are not limited to, the following: pardon petition strategy and development, crafting a compelling and comprehensive narrative for the pardon petition, emphasizing mitigating factors such as client's acceptance of responsibility, his extensive community and charitable work, the nonviolent nature of his predicate offenses, the unique procedural history of the matter, and the impact of the conviction on his family and ability to provide for them. Number two, Department of Justice advocacy, preparing, submitting, and managing a formal petition for pardon with the Office of the Pardon Attorney within the U.S. Department of Justice. This includes direct lobbying and engagement with senior officials in the Pardon Office to advocate for a favorable recommendation. Three, White House engagement, conducting high-level strategic outreach and direct lobbying with key officials within the White House counsel's office to ensure the pardon petition receives thorough and favorable consideration. And number four, executive advocacy, engaging in direct advocacy with senior White House staff, policy advisors, and, where appropriate and possible, the President of the United States to make a personal and persuasive case for granting the pardon. Clarifications and limitations. Client acknowledges and agrees that the power to grant a pardon rests solely and exclusively with the President of the United States. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and this is where the date issue comes in. Keep in mind that this agreement was signed September 25th, 2025. Terms of the engagement. The term of this agreement shall commence on the date signed hereunder and shall continue until either A, a full presidential pardon for the matter is secured for the client, or B, close of business 5 p.m., January 31, 2025. It's supposed to say 2026, whichever occurs first. Upon the occurrence of either event, the engagement shall be deemed complete, subject to the contingent refund provision outlined in billing matters below. Billing matters. Retainer fee. In consideration for the services described in the scope of services, client shall pay consultant a flat fee retainer of 600,000 United States dollars, subject to the contingent refund condition described below. 1. Non-refund portion. 300,000 United States dollars of the retainer fee is non-refundable and shall be considered earned in full by consultant upon receipt for services rendered and to be rendered. Number 2, contingent refundable portion. If a full presidential pardon for the matter is not secured for the client by close of business, and again, wrong date, January 31, 2025, it should say 2026, consultant shall refund 300,000 United States dollars to the client. This refund is conditioned upon the following procedure. The client must submit a written request to the consultant for the refund. Consultant shall return the fund within 3 business days of receiving the client's written request. The funds shall be transferred via bank wire to a bank account designated in writing by the client. Payment schedule, expenses, payment details, conflict of interest, termination, records management and retention, applicable laws in the District of Columbia. The agreement is made and is to be construed. Oh, there's a lot of typos in this document. So, if I stumble over sentences, it's because there's a period in the middle of the sentence, beloved. This agreement is made and is to be construed according to the laws of the District of Columbia. The parties irrevocably agree that any dispute arising under this agreement shall be submitted to the exclusive jurisdiction of the American Association for Arbitration, or American Arbitration Association. Anyway, you get the point. As provided in Section 13 below and conducted in the District of Columbia, the successful party shall be entitled to its reasonable attorney's fees and costs associated with enforcing its rights under the agreement. Mandatory binding arbitration. All disputes between the parties to this agreement arising out of or in connection with the execution, interpretation, and performance of this agreement, including the validity, scope, and enforceability of this arbitration provision, shall be solely and finally settled by a board of arbitrators consisting of either one arbitrator or 3 arbitrators as set forth below. The term arbitrator shall refer to the board of arbitrators, which whether it consists of 1 or 3 members. Except as otherwise may be provided in this section, the arbitration proceedings shall be conducted in accordance with the commercial arbitration rules of the American Arbitration Association and conducted in the District of Columbia. Our goal is to serve you in an effective and efficient way, and we welcome your views on how we may best do so. We encourage you to discuss with us any questions you might have. Mind you, this is a 6-page document for a $600,000 contract. This is a 6-page contract for a $600,000. Ain't no way. That in and of itself is problematic. It's 6 pages, poorly written. Please signify your acceptance of the foregoing terms and terms of engagement by signing the enclosed copy of this letter and returning it to me. Please note that you're instructing us or continuing to instruct us on the matter discussed above will constitute your full acceptance of the terms set above. Again, we are all pleased at the chance to work on this matter and look forward to a successful outcome. What's hilarious to me about this is one of the things that they're arguing in their attempt to get the arbitration, kicked is that he never properly signed it. But then right here where they have signed it, they say, if we communicate with you about this and you direct us in this matter, or you affirm our actions in this matter, we consider the contract signed. Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable. That's typically what courts hold too. You acted as if it was. You communicated as if it was. Let me open another document here. It is not enough pages for a $600,000 contract. It's not enough pages for a $50,000 contract. It's not enough pages for a $50,000 contract. No, it's not enough. So, here is their response to whatever it is that Boosie filed with the American Arbitration Association. Respondents J.M. Berkman and Associates, Jacob Wall, and Jack Berman, through counsel, hereby move to dismiss this arbitration commenced March 25, 2026, by claimant Boosie for lack of jurisdiction. Respondents also file this protective answer to claimant's demand for arbitration, never served by either claimant Hatch or the American Arbitration Association upon respondents. Motion to dismiss for lack of an agreement to arbitrate, lack of arbitrability, and complete lack of jurisdiction of the arbitrator over this arbitration, including respondents Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman personally. As detailed below, there are multiple grounds to dismiss this arbitration for lack of jurisdiction. First, the arbitration is void, as the demand for arbitration was never served upon any of the respondents, and the demand for arbitration also was not served by the American Arbitration Association upon any of the respondents, who were only told March 30, 2026, that an arbitration had been commenced against them by M. And then the sentence does not finish. Also, I would be remiss if I did not point out that, they talked about the steps for Boosie getting a refund for his $300,000. So Boosie did go through that process with this lobbying firm. He requested his money back in writing, and their response was, now's not a good time. Let's just keep going with this process. Now's not a good time to pay you back. For us, really bad time, bro. Really bad time. Really not a good time for us. So if you could just stop asking for your money back and just trust us, that would be really helpful. So, but yeah, this sentence just ceases to be written after the letter M. If there was something else they wanted to say in that sentence, we don't know how it ends because it just stops. So, yeah, anyway. Secondly, Boosie, a violent convicted felon with a long list of convictions, who sought to engage J.M. Berkman and Associates to obtain a pardon for his most recent felony conviction, failed to sign and never returned the September 25, 2025 retainer agreement attached to claimant's arbitration demand to the lobbying firm. I thought you just said in your contract with him that you were happy to work with him on a pardon for a nonviolent felony offense. But now, all of a sudden, Boosie, a violent convicted felon with a long list of convictions, failed to sign and never returned the retainer agreement. Instead, respondents never saw the retainer agreement purportedly signed by Mr. Hatch until after this arbitration was commenced. Importantly, a date after the retainer agreement expired by its own explicit terms. So now what they're trying to do is use the wrong date in their contract to their benefit, as if it was not a typo. The expiration provision in the September, do you all know the orders of the months? Okay. Okay. Do you know the order of the months? The expiration provision in the September 2025 retainer agreement is January 2025. The expiration date for the contract that we signed is 8 months before the contract that we signed. Don't let them okey doke you. Don't let them okey doke you. If the agreement expired, then why you got don't that's a okey doke. Don't let them okey doke you. It's literally impossible. The expiration date for the contract cannot be before the date it was signed. The expiration date of the contract cannot be before the date the contract was signed. It's a typo. And they are actually trying to argue that it was a legitimate date. They can construe them whatever way they want to. They can construe them whatever way they want to. It's up to the court of arbitration to say, we agree with you or we don't agree with you. But they can construe them whatever way they want to. And this is the way they've chosen to do it. They have chosen to literally, this is a play in people's faces moment. This contract expired January 2025. That's impossible. It wasn't signed until September. Thank you, OGT Bell. Appreciate you. Because claimant threatened physical harm to Mr. Berkman, the voided retainer agreement was terminated in any event and no pardon was obtained for claimant. Thus, even if the retainer agreement had been in effect, it was terminated no later than January 31, 2025. So they are saying two things there, apparently without evidence, at least so far, that the retainer agreement, this is so, oh my God, this is This is frustrating because it's nonsensical, right? It's people playing games. So first they said he didn't sign it. Then they said it expired. Then they said he voided it. It was voided because he threatened one of the lobbyists. So it was voided before it was signed. It expired before it was signed. And they get to keep all the money because Boosie threatened somebody. It makes no sense. No, Boosie has lawyers. They're not gonna be able to trick him again. Boosie isn't doing this on his own. Boosie has lawyers. They're the ones who went and tried to independently verify everything that the lobbyists had communicated to Boosie from the time he paid them money. And when they went looking for and talking to people within the government whose names or departments had been invoked, there is no such pardon. There was no such pardon effort. People that they claimed were supportive of it were not supportive of it. People that they claimed knew about it and were helping didn't know anything about it. So if all of that is true, it's just a straight up fraud. That's all it is. It's just a full fraud. And then when he's like, "I want half of my money back," their response is, "This is an inconvenient time for us. We don't have it." And now, in an arbitration filing, the contract expired before it was signed. The contract is void because he didn't sign it. The retainer aspects of the contract are void because he threatened somebody. And that also happened, by the way, before the contract was signed. That's nonsensical horse shit. This is a rude filing because it is insulting to the court's intelligence or to the arbitrator's intelligence, which is typically retired judges. It's literally insulting to people's intelligence. And who would be surprised if Boosie threatened to beat somebody's ass because they weren't giving him his money back? Who would be surprised by that? Nobody. Nobody. But there's literally there we just read the contract. There's no provision in the contract that says, there's no provision. And this is another reason why I was like, oh, the pages for this are way too short. I've been involved in way too many contracts where there's money in exchange for services and specific outcomes. And all of the clauses within a contract, including clauses that have to do with behavior, demeanor, professionalism, conduct. So they're saying, "Oh, he voided it because he threatened somebody." Ain't nothing in that contract about them not that being a provision of the contract. You just decided that, well, he threatened us, so he forgoes the money. That's not how contracts work. That's not relevant. So, they're playing. Okay, so now they claim just a reminder that his signature is right there. I don't know why those two things just came apart. Hold on. So even though they signed the agreement, now they say they were never personally a party to any retainer agreement with Mr. Hatch, and they never agreed to personally arbitrate any dispute with Mr. Hatch. Because the retainer agreement containing the arbitration clause upon which claimants demand for arbitration is based was not signed and delivered by claimant Torrance Hatch to any of the respondents, the retainer agreement, including its arbitration clause, is void, and this arbitration must be dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. They make it sound like they were never in business with him, but then they just kept the money. If there was no contract and you were not in business with him, what entitled you to keep his fucking money? I'd threaten to whoop your ass too. It's nonsensical. Even if the retainer agreement were not void, which it is because it expired prior to being signed by the claimant, who could not and did not revive the retainer agreement by signing the agreement after it expired. The basic laws of contracts provide that a contract is binding when acceptance of an offer has been made prior to the expiration of its terms. Oh, here they go trying to flex. Indeed, it is black letter law, spelled wrong, that party cannot accept an offer that has lapsed. And an offerer cannot elect to regard acceptance of a lapsed offer as valid. Then what are you doing with his money? Notice they're not addressing the money. Why do you have Boosie's money? Why did you accept Boosie's money if you didn't have a valid contract and you did no work on his fucking behalf? Thank you. Fateless says, yeah, that is my issue. Either there is a contract and you owe him half back, or you falsely took his money. There is no contract and you owe him all of it back. Either way, run this man his check. According to Notice's reporting, they reviewed text messages and things like that, and that substantiated for them that there was a business relationship, and they were consistently selling Boosie or his attorneys a narrative of this is in process. Yeah, because this is absurd. This is straight up absurd. Like, Boosie is not the person. Boosie is not the person whose face you should play in. Okay, he's not the one. That man has no patience whatsoever. Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button, share the live. The rule is well settled that in a contract by offer and acceptance, the acceptance must conform strictly to the offer and all its conditions without any deviation or condition whatever. Here, because claimant did not sign the retainer agreement before it expired, his signing the expired agreement did not conform strictly to all the conditions in the agreement because it expired before claimant signed it, if indeed he rather than another person actually signed it. Next, claimant's demand for arbitration is void because it was never signed by claimant or its counsel. And then it goes through arbitration clause. Claimant's unsigned demand for arbitration fails to specify a number of arbitrators for this arbitration. The void retainer agreement states that there shall be either one or three arbitrators. Without a request for any particular number of arbitrators, the demand is void. In any event, respondents demand there be three arbitrators. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed. Boozy, I get it. I get it, bro. I get it. 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 I, I'm annoyed. Fateless? I'm annoyed. First, they say his demand for arbitration isn't valid because he failed to specify whether he wanted one arbitrator or three arbitrators. And then they cite their own arbitration clause in a contract they say is already void. And they say that arbitration shall be conducted by one or three. It does not say that the person who is demanding arbitration needs to specify. That's not up to that's up to arbitration. So now they say because he failed to specify whether he wanted one or three, that it's void. But setting that aside, they want three. They want a panel of three arbitrators. I think they think people in the black world on Black Planet are stupid. That's what it sounds like. The Black Planet people are stupid. Let's just play him. And now this is insulting. This is the epitome of playing in his face. Put this in the dictionary as an example. They are seriously playing in his face. Next, claimant claims set forth in the demand for arbitration, importantly, against only one unidentified respondent, are as follows. Mr. Hatch signed a contract with respondent for respondent to seek a presidential pardon. Oh, now they're like, he wasn't specific enough as to who this arbitration is for. Claimant's Hatch claimant, Jesus Christ, their wording is terrible. Boosie's claims, which do not state that they include breach of contract, seek a partial refund of fees paid by Boosie to the lobbyists firm. They say none of them received anything personally, as well as damages for alleged infliction of extreme emotional distress, misleading Boosie, and being untruthful with Boosie, none of which are claims falling within the arbitration clause for the void retainer agreement solely between Mr. Hatch and the firm. Rather, such claims appear to largely constitute equitable and tort claims Mr. Hatch believes he has against the firm, Mr. Berkman and or Mr. Wall. They just basically said sue us. Is it is their world backwards world? I don't know. Apparently I'm on the Black Planet. Is their world backwards world? Because they basically just said, well, if these are his claims, this is for a court of law. Oh, okay. Okay. Such claims appear to largely constitute equitable and tort claims Mr. Hatch believes he has against the firm and these two individuals. Importantly, as previously stated, Mr. Berkman nor Mr. Wall are parties to the retainer agreement attached to the arbitration demand, and no jurisdiction can be had over any claims asserted in the arbitration against those two gentlemen. Boozy has failed to specify which of the three respondents, which is crazy because they just said respondents wasn't specified, but now they've identified that there are three respondents. But anyway, they say Boozy, of the three respondents, which is the firm and the two individuals, Boozy failed to specify which person or entity caused which harm. For these reasons, Respondents' motion to dismiss should be granted because there is no valid agreement to arbitrate the vague, equitable claim for a refund and undefined tort claims asserted by claimant against all three respondents in the demand for arbitration, and thus the single arbitrator appointed by claimant without any participation by respondents lacks jurisdiction over this arbitration and respondents. Explicitly preserving and reserving all objections set forth above to this arbitration, including a complete lack of jurisdiction, respondents respond as following to claimant's demand for arbitration. General denial, general denial. Yeah, that's exactly what he should do. He should say, "Okay, bet. Imma sue you and sue him for fraud and other things." This document is officially annoying. Respondents generally denies God, these people don't know grammar to save their lamb lives. Respondents, plural, generally denies each and every allegation of fact and conclusion of law set forth for the demand for arbitration and the whole thereof, including those causes of action, blah, 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 blah. So they say that the demand for arbitration fails to state facts sufficient to constitute any cause of action. Respondents allege and aver that claimant has failed to exercise care and diligence to mitigate any alleged damages he may have suffered as a consequence of respondent's alleged actions. You know, when you were a little kid and somebody would grab your hand and force you to hit yourself in the face with it? Why are you hitting yourself? Stop hitting yourself. Blah, 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 blah. That is exactly what that paragraph represents right there. They grabbed Boosie's hand. They started slapping him in the face with his own hand. And then they have the nerve to say in a legal document, he failed to take the appropriate action to stop them from allegedly slapping him in the face. They say on information and belief that the damages that Boosie suffered were not caused by them, they were caused by his willful, reckless, or negligent conduct. They don't specify what. Oh, unclean hands. The demand in each cause of action therein is barred by the equitable doctrine of unclean hands. They're saying this is everybody's fault. You can't just hold us accountable for it. Respondents allege and aver that Boosie's claims are barred because the lobbying firm exercised reasonable care to prevent and correct any behavior, and Boosie unreasonably failed to take advantage or preventative or corrective opportunities. That's vague and unspecific as hell. They say that his request for damages is speculative. They say he is not entitled to recover attorney's fees, even though it's in the contract. They say that Boosie is prosecuting this litigation for for an improper purpose, and Boosie's claims are frivolous and entitle respondents to an award of reasonable expenses and attorneys' fees. This is hilarious. These people have contradicted themselves so many times. It's fucking hilarious. The lobbying firm alleges that Boosie's demand and each cause of action in the demand is barred by the fact that Boosie knowingly participated in and ratified the alleged actions and omissions alleged in the demand. They're literally just playing hot potato. That's all they're doing is playing hot potato. When the hot potato is thrown at them, no contract, no working agreement, no working together, no nothing. When the hot potato is not in their hands, contract, worked together. Boozy was the problem. Boozy approved everything we did or didn't do. Unbelievable. They say that all of their conduct was completely justified. They say they were only acquiescing to Boozy's conduct, who they didn't work with and didn't have a contract with. All of the damages that he is claiming were caused by his own actions or by his associates. They say that every action that they took was in good faith. They say he did not provide a notice of a dispute before demanding arbitration, causing them damages. They say that he has demand claims for relief that exceed the arbitrator's jurisdiction, but they're not specific about what those are. They make some reservations for future arguments. They want the demand for arbitration dismissed with prejudice. The claimant take nothing by the demand for arbitration. The respondents be awarded reasonable attorney's fees, expert witness fees, and costs of suit. This is one of the worst written documents I've ever seen in my entire life, and they actually hired a lawyer for it. So this document was dated June 30th, 2026. And yeah, somebody said in the chat earlier, I'd take this document and file a lawsuit. I'd take this document and file a lawsuit too. I'd say, okay, all right, we'll let the court sort it out. Because then they can't use the lobbying firm can't use arbitration as a guise to get out of court. You've already filed something that says arbitration has no jurisdiction over this through the means that Boozy went to. Now, a court can order arbitration if you sue. That can become mediation, can become just a standard part of the process, and then arbitration or an attempt at arbitration can be ordered by a judge after you sue. So they could eventually come back around to arbitration. But this is such a mess, and they are so heavily playing in Boozy's face that I'd be like, yeah, you might as well sue them at this point. And this is this is one of the documents that you're going to want to use. Particularly if his claims do exceed the jurisdiction of what arbitration could award him. Then, yeah, go to court. Sue them in federal court. All three of them. Both of them. It's insane. He didn't agree, but he did, but it was too late, but it wasn't too late. I mean, it was just stupid. This is stupid. This is, you know, somebody trying to run around the table who's got your money and just keep going back and forth, making faces at you. Flip the table, Boosie. Flip the table, Boosie. Legally cut these boys to the white meat, okay? Because this is absurd. This is absurd. As soon as they start invoking the expiration date of the contract and then trying to pussyfoot around, we did have an agreement. We didn't have an agreement. We didn't work together on this agreement. We did work together on this agreement. These people were involved. These people were not involved. Like, fuck that. I'm sorry. They playing in your face, sir. Teach them a lesson because this is absurd. It is a whole absurd mess. A whole absurd mess. Yeah, sue them. I wanna read that document. Sir, if you would be so kind, I wanna read that document. Oh, man. Shout out to the super chatters. Docket fund, gifted memberships, Goldie Vox, Joshua, It's Nader, OG T Bella. Okay, this is the other thing. When you know who these 2 people are, he really did go with the worst group of characters. I mean, there are some other pretty bad ones that are also doing, pay to play schemes in DC related to the White House or related agencies. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. When you know who these 2 people are that Boosie is demanding participate in arbitration, let alone the firm, they are the MAGA conspiracy theorists from hell, okay? All they do is make a mess and cause drama and trauma wherever they go. They've been charged with several things, they've been sued for several things. They had some illegal robocall scheme in the last election around mail-in voting, where they were trying to scare voters into believing that they could be arrested and prosecuted for putting their mail-in ballot in the mail. So these 2 are just they are already, okay? Already. I mean, look at them. The most reputable person in this image is Boosie. So, make of that what you will. Okay? The person with the most integrity in this thumbnail is Boosie Badass. The rest of these folks are genuinely, allegedly grifters. Are you going live right now? Are you doing a video? Yeah. Yes. That is correct. And I have no doubt Boosie probably did threaten one of them boys over his money. It's Boosie. What kind of mechanisms do you think this man has to cope with stressful situations or where he feels like he's been wronged or straight up ripped off? I would never want somebody like Boosie thinking I ripped them off. That is not a safe position to be in. Legally, reputationally, potentially physically. You don't know who you're dealing with? I would not want that. Over $300,000, I would not wanna be dealing with that. He's obviously gonna go from 0 to, "Imma fuck you up if you don't pay me back my money." This is a simple-minded man who signed a six-page simple contract that clearly states, "If we don't get you a pardon by this date," which was a typo, but "If we don't get you a pardon by this date, we gonna pay you back $300,000 within 3 days of you asking for it." He said, "Run me my money." They said, "We don't have it." Do you know the shit we're going through? We're being sued, we're being charged, we ain't got no money for you. Not we don't owe you. That didn't come until later in the documents that we looked at. But their initial response, according to reporting, was, "Oh, we don't have that money. This is not a convenient time." And now he's in a world of trouble. It does make me think back to what we read about him, again, a week, 2 weeks ago, and the timeline of his alleged violations for conditional release. Like, was he just in I don't give a fuck land because he thought, "I'm about to get a pardon. So it doesn't matter if my UAs are dirty, it doesn't matter if I'm breaking curfew, doesn't matter if I'm going places I'm not supposed to be going to. I'm they told me I got a pardon. I'm just waiting for it to be announced." Turns out you never got a pardon. And now you're probably about to go do some time because of those all of those violations. Also, the statement from the White House about, if you are hiring these people to try and get a pardon, you are worsening your chances of getting a pardon. I wouldn't be surprised if the feds go after these guys for criminal fraud. Boosie needs to file a lawsuit so we can see all the documentation on the docket. But as it stands right now, based on who these individuals are, based on their track record, based on the reporting by notice, um, I'm firmly in Boozy has a real relevant grievance here and is owed at least $300,000. And because here's how I think of it, right? If I found out from my lawyer at any point in time in a process where I was being led to believe that a pardon was being secured or was secured. If I then found out from my lawyer, who I'm gonna trust my lawyer's word more than the word of lobbyists, right? But if I find out from my lawyer that my lawyer has spoken to people in the Department of Justice, people in the White House, this person, that person, and that they don't know what the fuck it is we're even talking about, I'm suing you for so much money. Because as far as I'm concerned, you ran a fraud on me. You said a pardon was signed. Based on what? Why would you send or make that kind of a communication? Based on what? Did you say it in good faith because you were told it and you're like, "Hey," then identify that person. "Hey, I was told by such and such in the White House or such and such in the Department of Justice that it was signed. I don't know why it wasn't announced." But they don't say that. But to just blatantly tell him or his lawyer, "Oh, we got the pardon. We're just waiting for the announcement," and not have a pardon is crazy. That is insane. And that is fraud if they just decided to just say it based on nothing. Nobody told you that. You can't point to some kind of contemporaneous documentation of this is why we made this representation to our client. That's fraud. I'd sue them for so much fucking money. So I would imagine that what Boosie has filed with AAA is needs very little adjusting to actually become a court filing on a docket. Because he's going through the procedural step of the contract says arbitration, so we're going to arbitration. But if they're saying, like, if they are saying straight up, "Oh, no, this doesn't belong in arbitration, this belongs in a court of law," motherfucker, bet. Bet. No, DC. I would be absolutely livid. Absolutely, and there's no other recourse but, uh, you gotta sue somebody. But this filing is trash. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible, and they're just playing a game. So, the moment where they say, like, "Arbitration isn't the proper venue," bro, you are done with that fight. File a federal fucking lawsuit. Because now they can't, they can't deter the lawsuit by arguing to a judge, "Oh, no, this belongs in arbitration, our contract specifically." "No, you said" No. Then what you want one of the things that you want from the judge is just an affirmative declaration based on the evidence that you present to them that this was a binding contract because the parties engaged as if it was. Period. You have an actual fact issue before the court. Based on the behavior of the parties involved, you want the court to come to a determination that this was a binding contract, and they owe you money. I mean, I did not have "I'm on the side of Boosie" on my 2026 bingo card, but beloved, for this particular issue, here we are. Here we are. That's ridiculous. I'm insulted on his behalf. All of that is insulting, and it looks like a grift and like they took advantage of him. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like they tried to entice him to go into business with them and pay them all this money, and then it looks like they played in his fucking face when it didn't work. And now that he's trying to remedy it, they're doubling down on playing in his face. Yeah. Don't stand for that, Boozy. You're not a bitch. So, none of these people deserve titties. None of them. None. Sorry, not sorry. And also, y'all, I think, done missed a deadline, so, double whammy. So sorry. Not my fault. That's what it looks like. They tried to grift him. So, yeah, I hope he does sue. I look forward to reading that document because this is absurd. It's really absurd. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. That's typically what, courts come to a determination is like, okay, you have a contract, period, because the parties both acted as if there were a contract, whether in good faith or bad faith. Then you go line by line through the contract and a judge determines, you know, what is binding by law in the contract. But you have a contract, period. You have a contract. Now, what within this contract is understood and enforceable and what is not, based on the law and the arguments of the parties. And that, this filing, that is the ace in the hole, baby. That is an ace in the hole. Even if it winds up back in arbitration through the legal process, that's still an affirmative for Boosie that he has valid claims based on that contract. Yeah, they would. For sure. Yeah, more people would sue if it were affordable, or if they could just find a lawyer to take their case, which is not easy. You know, you have to present information a very specific way. You have to do a lot of work ahead of just, I need a lawyer in most cases. Um, and that's hard for people. It's understandably very difficult for people to be able to do that. And then, go through lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, calling and calling and calling, and we don't do that, or we were not good, we're not interested, or like all of that is very like feels like you're getting beat down, and nobody cares. And for the most part, there's levels to care when it comes to lawyers. Some of them don't, and some of them do, but there's varying degrees to that. So, yeah, all very, very interesting, and I just really want him to file a lawsuit, and I want him to attach a bunch of contemporaneous documentation so that we can get a fuller, a fuller picture of, uh, what had gone down. What had gone down, because this is ridiculous, and they're not the only ones doing it, as I said. They're not the only ones doing it, and there are people who actually do have proximity to the president or heads of agencies that make decisions, and they're selling that access to the top bidder every day. So, yeah, that's that on that. It's starting to get warm up in here. So other than that, I almost went live yesterday, 5 o'clock in the morning, just because I could not contain myself over the news about Lindsey Graham. I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God. I went to breakfast. I had some of the best French toast I've had in a minute. It was So, so good. I had a mimosa just to mark the day. I was so stunned, I really couldn't believe it. I was so, so, so stunned. So, so, so stunned. So the night before when the news actually broke, as you all know, well, maybe not all of you, but as many of you know, I stay up really, really late and I wake up really, really early. And I'm usually awake at the point in time that this news broke. But probably about 7 minutes before the first breaking news, I decided to go to bed. I was like, "Well, I'm bored," pretty much. I just turned everything off and rolled over and went to sleep. And then at about 12:30, I heard a text message come through, and I was, like, barely there, and I remember thinking to myself, "If this is an emergency, then the next thing I'm gonna hear is the phone ringing, and I'll get up for that, but I'm not gonna look." I'm like, "I'm comfortable." The heated blanket is on. I'm like, "Nah, nah, I gotta move to reach the phone." I was like, "No, no, 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 no." So I ignored that. Um, and then woke up the next morning at, like, because I went to bed early, I woke up at, like, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I checked the news, and I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I went to several reputable news sources who all had it on the front page of their websites. And was like, "Oh, wow, he's really he did that man dead. That man done died. Wow, wow." Um, I probably sat there for 10 to 15 minutes in disbelief, and I'm gonna tell you something, but it's just between you and me, okay? You can't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody because it sounds really bad. Sounds really bad, but I'm gonna tell you, okay? I'm gonna tell you, don't tell anybody, I'm gonna tell you what my honest reaction was. My thought was, "I hope that he knows." And I think that he did, because initially it was announced as a cardiac arrest, right? And it was, but when people think like, "Oh, a cardiac arrest," they think of either somebody clutching their chest and, sinking to the ground, or somebody just, like, dropping dead. Apparently, he had a tear in his aorta, in his heart, and I'm not a doctor, but I was thinking to myself, and I told my girlfriend who I went to breakfast with yesterday. We sat there, clinked glasses together, and just talked about, because 'cause we're old, so we know the, history of Lindsey Graham before he was being blackmailed by Donald Trump for being gay. So anyway, I was saying, to her, because safety is, circle of safety. I was saying, I hope that before he actually died, he knew that something was catastrophically wrong with him. Like, I hope he had a moment of awareness of, like, the thing that he thought that he was gonna live to do or see, or the person that he planned to talk to make this move and make this political deal. I hope he had a moment of recognition of knowing, like, "Oh my god, thi this is it for me. I'm not actually gonna be here to help make this thing happen. I'm not actually going to have that phone call with such and such tomorrow. I'm actually not, like, there's something catastrophically wrong with me, and this is the end of my life." I don't have any problem saying I hope that he had a moment of recognition, and then I hope he just died right after that, because Lindsey Graham was a horrible fucking person. Under the wire once again. Goal was met. Congratulations to all of you. That I don't think that's a redeeming quality. Oh, okay. You're not supposed to be a Russian stooge, so not being one is not a redeeming quality. That's a neutral, babes. Good to see you, Mark. That's a neutral. There's nothing redeeming about that. Yeah. So, yeah, that was my honest reaction was I hope he had a moment of recognition of this is the end. I wish that for all of them when their time comes. A moment of recognition of, "Oh my god, something is wrong. Disastrously, life-threatening, catastrophically wrong." Yep. Sure enough, buddy. Sure enough. Schrodinger's McConnell has released an alleged photo taken of him in the hospital, allegedly from his most recent hospital visit slash stay. We don't know when the photo was actually taken. Okay, we don't know. But he has released a statement saying he did not have a heart attack. That he briefly lost consciousness, that he's recovering well and regaining his strength. But there is a photo of him in the hospital with his wife. And now the theories are all about the photo. When was it taken? Blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. He's smiling. It's kind of creepy. He does in the face look the healthiest that he's looked in a really long time, which is interesting. And so there's a lot of debate about whether it's AI or whether it's airbrushed to the gods. How much makeup is he wearing? All of that. So I don't really know. I don't know. But he put it on official letterhead. So that's his statement and his proof of life. It really did look like a face from several years ago. I was like, that's not what he looked like last month. But okay. I'm not invested in that so much. I'm really not. Like there are enough the media and everybody else is invested enough in it that I can just sit back and be a bystander and just wait for the news to roll in on what the recent developments are. But I don't really and I understand why people care. And so from that degree, from a political standpoint, I do care. But I've also said that like I don't want to know people's personal medical business. I want to know if you can meet at your office next week at 2 o'clock on Wednesday. Your DC office. Can you do that? Okay, then. If you can't do that, we have a problem. But Mitch McConnell is not going to leave that seat until he literally is incapacitated or dead. He will die in that seat. It ain't Maybelline, it's make believe. Hilarious. I would not call that proof of life either. Call a reporter and have a 3-minute conversation so somebody can hear your voice, a reputable reporter. Hell, I'd call Rachel Maddow at MS Now. Call Lawrence O'Donnell. Have a 3-minute conversation, hang up the phone. Because then it's indisputable. Because then you're gonna have Lawrence O'Donnell or, somebody of that, you know what I mean? Of that left-leaning say, "I spoke to Mitch McConnell today." Then it's irrefutable. But so long as the Republicans keep trying to be like, here's proof, everybody's going to be like, nah, that don't look like proof to me, dog. That don't look like proof to me. So that's the situation. I'm still suspicious as well. It being a photo and not a video. Him having not spoken, him having only spoken to very specific people. He says that he had a fall, which happens when you are very, very old. You know, it used to be that people would think that, oh, an old person lost their balance and fell and broke their hip. But actually, what would happen is people's hips would break and then they would fall. So he fell bad enough that he, lost consciousness, according to him, because of the fall. Um, my question is, like, did you have a stroke and then fall? Like, why aren't you talking to anybody who is reputable, who can verify that they've spoken to you and that you appear to be of sound mind and functionability? That's really what people want. So a letter on letterhead and a photo that looks airbrushed to the gods. It really does. It really does. As soon as I glanced at the photo, I was like, that does not look like a recent photo of Mitch McConnell. But maybe it is. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he is more rested, and you know what I mean? So maybe that's what he looks like after 3 weeks in the hospital, being well rested and being, having nutrients pumped into him 24 hours a day. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is Lindsey Graham is for damn sure dead. Dead, 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 dead. Not coming back, dead. And I'm so, so grateful. I think the last chapters of his political career are pathetic. Are pathetic. And he is sitting in hell right now trying to explain why he doesn't belong there and that he didn't have a choice. You have a choice. You made your choice a long time ago. You made your choice over 50 years ago when you decided to not be an openly gay man because you wanted to be accepted by the men and be in the armed services. So he was a career bachelor dedicated to his country. Translation, he was gay. And we all suffered because of his self-loathing. We all suffered because somebody got the upper hand on him. We're not going to play dumb. We're not going to play dumb. I mean, again, I'm old, so I remember when Lindsey Graham came into politics. And he was a very different person. He was a very different person. He had his convictions, he had his faith, he had his beliefs, but he was bipartisan to the bone. He was a respectable person and he demanded respect of other people, particularly people on the other side of the aisle. And then he just turned into a blatant piece of shit. We watched him become a public drunk, a warmonger, somebody who wanted to strip the rights of Americans, strip resources and protections from vulnerable people around the world, and protect quite literally the most corrupt president the United States has ever seen. Because he didn't want people to know he was a twink. Yes, really. So, yeah, I hope he had a moment of recognition. It's over for you. You are but a mere mortal. It's a hell of a way to go. So, no, she didn't flee to China. What does she have to flee for? She's not under persecution for any fucking thing. Apparently, she was no longer in China because she's in the photo with her husband in the hospital. Lindsay didn't want to be gay. That's the whole problem. It wasn't about letting people be gay. Lindsay didn't want to be gay. Lindsey Graham's entire, young adult life was focused on military service and his faith. He didn't want to be gay. I think that's pretty evident. It didn't matter if it was accepted or not accepted. He didn't want to be gay. And he had a very successful armed services career before he went into politics. So I wouldn't equate his behavior having anything to do with John McCain's death at all. It's more proportionally, relevant to who's in the White House, who controls the Republican National Party, and so on and so forth. And either he lost his mind or he was blackmailed and then he lost his mind. I think it's the latter. That's just my personal opinion. I do absolutely believe that Lindsey Graham was blackmailed. And that's why he so fervently flipped after Donald Trump was elected the first time. That's when he changed, flipped like a hoe cake. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I think he drove himself mad a little bit. So I have no sympathy for him. I do not extend my condolences to his family. They want to extend their condolences to the families of everybody that Lindsey Graham's votes hurt. No, they don't. So death is the great equalizer, and fuck him forever. Well, he failed at that spectacularly because that never went away. Luna Lemon 11 says, to me, he didn't want to be perceived as gay by others. Well, they failed at that spectacularly. I can't stand Ryan Murphy. I really can't. So, no, I don't want a biopic. I'd like a documentary. I don't want biopics of any of this shit. I don't want dramatizations of our lives and the human suffering of this administration. I want documentaries and documents and people on the fucking record. That's what I'm looking forward to after this administration. Is the floodgates are going to open of people being like, okay, he's not the president anymore. I can talk. I know some people who've got some shit to say, and they won't say it until he's out of office because it's not safe. The vice president is persecuting a chick on Instagram who runs a cat meme account. She's making memes and they're fucking with her First Amendment rights. So people who actually have real, actual tea to spill, they're not going to say shit before he leaves office. But when he does, like literally starting the day the next president is sworn in, especially if it's a Democrat, people are going to start talking that day, the minute the oath is taken. If it's a moderate Republican, they'll start talking that day, the minute the oath is taken. Anybody but a MAGA president, people are going to start talking that day. I think that it is safe to say that Donald Trump is going to be the most written about president in the history of America so far. And not just because, the media landscape has changed. So obviously the numbers look different, right? But because of corruption and policy and the breaking of the Constitution. And he will be the most written about president for a long time. He will be as written about as that mustache man with the bad comb over from back in the day. I believe. And I think it's justified because I don't think people really grasp just how much damage he's doing. It's overwhelming. And I really can't comprehend going another 2.5 years. My brain can't comprehend it. Because I can't imagine what's gonna be left or what condition America is gonna be in at that point. My brain cannot conceptualize what that could be. It's not good. I know that much. So Mhm. Decades. Decades. People, countries, institutions, decades. Yeah, it's overwhelming. It is. But all right, y'all. I'm gonna go. I don't think I'll be back again today. I might have a live for members only tomorrow during the World Cup match tomorrow, which will just consist of me sitting here looking stressed out and eating snackies to cope with my feelings. I don't know if it will happen, but it might. It might. We're getting down, we're getting down to it, and I be in the Discord stressing the fuck out. So maybe I'll just pop into the live and, have the conversation here instead of the Discord, but we'll see how the day goes. This World Cup is very interesting for like I've had Zoom meetings where the host has the World Cup just playing in the Zoom while we're having a meeting. So there's some of that. There's a lot of pretending it's not on while you are in a meeting, just pretending that you don't have it off screen or that you aren't casually glancing down at your phone to check the score of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of that that's been going on for the past month. So, um, I haven't even looked at my schedule tomorrow, but I do recall last week that I tried to keep a buffer around the matches going forward. So we'll see if the buffer holds, and if the stars align, I'll be here during that match for members only. And if they don't align, I'll be popping in and out of the Discord with my thoughts and reactions as the match goes on. This past weekend was a lot, beloved. I finally have alcohol in this house. I finally have alcohol in this house. I had to order some during one of the matches because I was like, Jesus, this is too much. I'm not going to be able to finish this without some help. And I very much definitely did have that rushed on over to the house. And so, yeah, we're rooting for everybody that is not Argentina. We are rooting for Mbappe in his match, and we are rooting for my adopted son, Jude Bellingham, for his match. That's what we're doing. Okay. So get on board, get with the program. And in all areas, we are rooting against Argentina. In all areas. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are an Argentina fan. Don't play dumb. Don't play dumb. Play quiet. Okay. Play quiet. Play along. Play along. Lie to me. Lie to me. Because I have nothing nice to say about the country from which your team comes. I don't have much nice to say about a lot of the fans. I don't have much nice to say about some of the players. Okay. So, let's just not say we didn't. Okay. In this house, we root against Argentina. We're not rooting for England. We're not rooting for France, but we are rooting for everybody black, especially if dumbass people have been attacking them because of their blackness. And there's been plenty of that to go around for Jude Bellingham, and there's been plenty of that to go around for Mbappe, as we have already covered on this channel. So it's going to be an interesting, stressful couple of days. Pray for me. Pray for me and my nerves. But that Argentina versus Switzerland, is that what it was? Argentina versus, is that who it was? Over the weekend? Who did Switzerland play? Oh, that had me. I was damn near, I had a tension headache. There was a point in time that I was just like, I can't, this is too painful. I can't watch what these refs are doing to these players, with their bullshit calls in favor of Argentina and just the devastation that these players go through. I was like, I can't, I need a drink, beloved. I need a drink. And so I had a nice little drinky drink in my hand by the time it fully went off the rails. I was just like, well, I'm okay now. I have something to help me cope. So, yeah, hopefully I do have a light ass schedule tomorrow, and, I can pour one for myself and my nerves while I'm watching tomorrow and on Wednesday. Baby. Baby. It bad. It real bad. Team anyone but Argentina unite. One of us. One of us. What happens if it's Mbappe versus Bellingham? Then we're happy for both of them because one of them is going to win. I'm not going to pick between my stepsons, okay? We're happy for both of them. All right? Because one of them's going to win. And they both got to the finals. And that's enough to shut people the fuck up. Leave such and such off the squad, and this person doesn't deserve it, and this person's overrated. No. No. Proof is in the pudding. Okay? Proof is in the pudding. As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of shut the fuck up right now anyway. Okay? There's a lot of shut the fuck up on behalf of both of these men. Anyway, yeah, there are a couple people in the press that owe some folks some apologies, but we gonna let them write those apologies on their own time. It's hard to you got to really prepare a crow to eat it. You know what I mean? So we gonna let them go through that process. But apologies is already owed to those two black men. They've already exceeded, okay? Already exceeded expectations because people wouldn't give him no expectations because they wouldn't give him no credit, okay? So, yeah, if it winds up being Mbappe against Bellingham, then may the best man win. And I'll be happy for both of them. And that also means no Argentina in the final, which means we all win. Okay, we all win. I'm really nervous for England versus Argentina because England plays the type of game that you can't play and not get booked when you're playing against Argentina. You can play that type of game against anybody else, but when you're playing against Argentina, you can't play that kind of game. So I'm nervous. I'm interested to see what their starting lineup is gonna look like. I'm interested to see what their tactical approach is going to be. I'm interested to see what their you can't have the leaders of your squad getting booked out. Then they're not gonna be in the final. You not only have to win on Wednesday, but you have to win with a squad that you can take into the final so that you can win in the final. So I'm just really interested to see exactly what it is that their approach is gonna be, and I hope it doesn't make them timid because Argentina loves nothing than to take advantage of any opportunity to be appropriately or inappropriately aggressive, and they're some of the best fucking actors you'll ever see on a pitch. So, you cannot touch one of them and they're gonna fall down and, basically win a yellow card through acting. So, it's that all the chips are already stacked against England. But I believe that they are the superior footballers. I believe a lot of teams are actually superior to Argentina, and they can't win without help. I do believe that, period. So, it's gonna be interesting to see how Evelyn England navigates that multi-pronged predicament of how do you play against Argentina? Because if you sneeze in fucking Messi's direction, you're gonna get booked, so I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so, I'm already just over the moon for Jude Bellingham in particular. Like, I'm so happy. I love nothing more than seeing naysayers have to eat their words, whether they will acknowledge it or not. Um, and, there are people on social media saying, like, the people who are saying that the Bellingham discourse is race-based in the English press, are oversimplifying the complicated nature of football, and it's like, no, we're not. We're not overcomplicating we're not oversimplifying the complicated nature of football through race. We just understand that race can't be divorced from it. We just understand that it is easier for fans and media alike to double, triple down on black players and whether or not they're the right members for the squad or whether or not they gave a full effort or whether or not you're getting your money's worth for that player. We understand. So, yeah, I'm just glad on I'm just glad. I'm just really happy for him, and I can't imagine what it is like to be his mother in a stadium. Your 23-year-old child is living out his wildest dreams that you have seen him pursue for over a decade since he was a child, and now he's on the global stage. Every single football fan knows his name, and his performances are just fucking incredible. And the other thing that I love is that the narrative coming into this World Cup was Kane, 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 Kane. Kane, 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 Kane. The great white hype. Kane, 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 Kane. What about him? Somebody else deserves that position in the billing just as much, if not more. And it's Jude Bellingham. Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to go. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Like I said, I may see members tomorrow. May not. We'll just see how it goes. Um, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Hit the like button on your way out if you didn't hit it on your way in. And I will see you all very soon. Peace.